everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Book Writing Tips, quick tips for new and seasoned authors. And I am your host, Alba Arango. In today's episode, we're going to talk about something that's going to sound kind of like random, but it is one of those things where I feel like if you use it in your writing, it could just give that writing just that little extra oomph and kind of make everyone go, ooh, and feel like they're really in the story. So just to let you know, today we're going to be talking about the weather. Alrighty then. Today's episode, as always, will be in 2 parts. In the first part, I want to talk about using weather in your setting. And in the second part, we're going to talk about the weather and your characters. So let's just get right down to it. How can you use the weather in your setting? First of all, you probably already have an idea of your scene. It's like already in your head how it's playing out, and you're focusing on dialogue and you're focusing on, what the characters are seeing and maybe even what they're hearing. At least I'm hoping you're using your senses in your writing. But there are times that the weather can really help get your reader into the setting, like what the character is experiencing. So I want to give you some examples of this. Let's say your scene takes place indoors. Now, just to be clear, probably the vast majority of the scenes that I write take place indoors, and I rarely really talk about the weather because let's face it, in reality, when you're inside, are you really thinking about the weather? But sometimes there are times when the weather does kind of play into the scene. So for example, if it's windy and you're sitting inside and it's really windy outside, what do you hear when it's really windy in your home? So for me, I hear wind chimes. And that is a great kind of way to let your reader into like what is going on in the scene. So if there's wind chimes outside and your main character or whoever's point of view you're in, here's the wind chimes outside, they're automatically going to know it's windy. So that is one way you can actually kind of let the reader know that, hey, it's windy outside, because that may actually play into the scene later on. You never know. Someone comes in and they're all wind blown or whatever. That's kind of one way to let your reader know like what's going on outside. Or if it's rainy, is there thunder? These are things that, I know it's very, very cliche in a murder mystery, but it might actually be a big part of your story. If it is, the power goes out. Oh no. There's a killing. Well, if the power goes out because there's a storm outside and you've never really set up that there's a storm outside, then it's kind of weird and it's going to take your reader by surprise. So it might be a good idea to have just try to include some elements of the weather in your scenes leading up to this so that your reader is not taken by surprise. Now, if your scene takes place outside, then I think the weather should definitely be a part of your setting. So for example, is it sunny outside? Is it cloudy? Well, cloudy could mean that it's just kind of overcast and, wispy clouds, or it could mean like deep, dark, ominous clouds outside. But either way, that's going to set a different tone for the scene that is happening outside. So you definitely want to kind of clarify what is going on with the weather so that the reader gets a feeling for not just what the characters are seeing, but what they're feeling as well. Is it windy? Is it breezy? Is it gusty? Is it like hurricane force gale winds outside? Is there trash blowing around? Are there leaves kind of rustling on the ground? All of these are things that you've all experienced when you've been outside. Put them into your writing so that your reader can feel and see what your character is seeing in the weather. If they're driving and it's windy, you've all driven when it's windy. You feel that the car, even if you're the passenger, you feel the car being pushed against by the wind. So these are all ways that you can actually get your reader into what is going on just by adding a moment or two of the weather into your scene. Oh, and I should mention, what if it's hot? Because come on, it's Vegas. It's June. When I tell people it's hot, what I mean by hot is that it's, 100 plus degrees and it's a very dry heat. So therefore, if it's windy, it's a different kind of feel. You're feeling that blow dryer effect. But if you're in, say, Miami and it's August and you say it's hot, it's a whole different kind of hot you're talking about down in Miami. So, that's another thing. Is it dry heat? Is it a humid heat? Because that's going to give the reader an idea of what your character is experiencing in the scene. Okay, before we delve deeper into the weather and your characters, let's take a moment to stop and talk about today's crazy law/writing prompt. I love these. They're so much fun. Remember, once upon a time, this was a law in history, and the writing prompt is for you to come up with why you think, or at least a story behind why you think this law became a law. Here we go. In today's crazy law. Once a time in history, in Michigan, state law forbids justices of the peace to hold court in a bar room. I could come up with a lot of interesting stories about why that had to be made a law. But all right, that's it for you to do on your own time. Right now, let's get into the weather and your characters. If your character is experiencing weather, this is a great opportunity for you to kind of get a little bit more character development and kind of give your reader some insight to what your character is like based on how they respond to the weather. So for example, in our scenario where you're inside and you can hear the rain outside, let me just tell you, I'm from Vegas. If it's raining outside, this is like a miracle. All right. It happens maybe 20 or 30 times a year, if that. So I can tell you, if it's raining outside, I'm going to have my sliding glass door open. I'm going to probably be outside and I'm just going to be sitting there with my eyes closed, just listening to that beautiful melodic sound of rain. Now, if you live in Seattle, or if your character's from Seattle, they may have a very different outlook on if it's raining outside. They're like, man, again, it could be a very different reaction. So the way your character reacts to the weather is a good way to incorporate just a little bit of extra character development into your scenes. Now, if again it is raining, that's also going to affect the pets, which I know sounds like, seriously, I have to talk about how the pets are going to be affected by the weather. But you know what? My dog, Pumpkin, will not go outside if it's raining to go to the bathroom at all. Like, even if it's like in the morning and she hasn't gone because she's been asleep all night, she refuses to go outside. So now I, as the character in my book or in real life, am like stressing because my dog is not going outside. So now I'm keeping an eye on her to make sure she doesn't have any plans on doing her business inside the house. So again, that is the weather kind of affecting your characters. Now, if you are outside, and again, it's that blazing hot, July heat of Las Vegas or, August heat of Southern Florida, that's going to affect your characters as well. If I have long hair, like I have really long hair, when I take my dog for a walk, which by the way, I have to do it like 5:30 in the morning now that it's summer in Vegas, I always tie my hair up. It's either in a braid or it's in ponytail. If it's windy, I'm not going outside without first grabbing a hair tie to tie my hair back. So if your character has long hair, that is one of the things your character needs to deal with if it's windy or super hot outside. And I know for those of you who have short hair, that may not be something that you've ever even thought of, but trust me, as someone with long hair, this is something your character has been dealing with their whole life. Now, if it's snowing outside, again, how your character responds to that is going to vary on the personality and where your character is from. So it snowed in Vegas last year. I think it was February. And again, I'm from Vegas. Do you know how often it snows in Vegas? The answer, not very. So when it snows in Vegas, pretty much every single person in Las Vegas who's been here for years and years and years and years and years is going to go outside and enjoy the snow. Whereas someone visiting Vegas from maybe like, say, Buffalo, New York, may not have the same reaction. So again, incorporating the weather is a great way to develop your character a little bit more. And on one last side note, if your characters live in some place that has hurricanes and tornado watches, this is one of those things that your character, if it's like, August or July, your character is keeping an eye on the weather. Like if there is a, tropical storm in the Caribbean, your character lives in South Carolina, they're probably going to, maybe not constantly, but they are sometimes going to keep an eye on the Weather Channel or their local news to make sure if that storm develops into a hurricane, what path is it taking? That's actually one of those real life things that people in the South and on the East Coast deal with that people from Vegas never do. So if I'm visiting Vegas, or if I'm from Vegas visiting, say, Florida in August, and, people are constantly looking at their phones or that is not something I am used to. So that again is another way to kind of incorporate the weather into your character development because people react to the weather differently. All of these are just minor suggestions. It is your book and you can certainly write it however you want, but just think about it. Think about how your character reacts to the weather and how the weather can really help in developing the setting for your story. And I think it could add just that extra little oomph that a lot of other authors tend to neglect. Hope this helps. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like or a comment, or please follow me. And I'm hoping that these tips are giving you a little bit of insight of what it's like to actually write a book and giving you some ideas of how you can improve your writing. Thank you, and I will see you all next Wednesday.